Jack the Ripper, who committed 5 murders in the 1800s, is notorious all around the world. His victims, the atrocities he perpetrated, and the origin of the name Jack the Ripper are all well-known facts. But apart from that, no clue has been found about who he was or where he came from. Is Jack the Ripper his real name? Calm down and enjoy the video. History Facts has got you covered. Jack the Ripper terrorized the poor neighborhoods around Whitechapel in London's East End. The murderer was referred to as the Whitechapel Murderer, and the leather apron in both the official criminal case files and the reports written by journalists at the time. Some people have strong opinions about how much they know about him, but they have no evidence to back up their statements. Jack the Ripper tours are a great way to learn about the murderer and his victims, but unfortunately, we still don't know much about the killer or what motivated him to commit such horrific acts. The origin of the name Jack the Ripper is unclear. The media were instrumental in the creation of this moniker because this was the first high-profile murder case to garner international attention. Journalists were prepared to go to any lengths to raise awareness. A dishonest journalist penned a letter to the editor of a newspaper while posing as Jack the Ripper. The name stuck because it accurately reflected the gruesome nature of the killings after which it was named. Despite the letter being proven to be a forgery, the Globe quickly latched on to the dramatic moniker the media had given the murderer. How did things turn out with the probe? The unsolved question of who or what was responsible for the Ripper killings continues to fascinate the public. People's interest in it persists even today. Because of this, in 1986, the FBI developed a comprehensive psychological profile of Jack the Ripper to use in their investigation of the case files. The profile considered geographic locations, motivations, levels of knowledge, skills, and abilities, as well as any necessary physiological conditions and potential psychological traits. Once the profile was set, it was simply a matter of reviewing old case files to determine whether any suspects matched the description. When did he live? Irish immigrants flooded into Britain in the middle of the 19th century, greatly increasing the population of the country's largest cities, particularly the East End of London. Jewish refugees from Tsarist Russia and other parts of Eastern Europe began arriving in this region beginning in 1882. By 1888, the parish of Whitechapel in London's East End was home to an estimated 80,000 people, much exceeding its capacity. Working and living conditions deteriorated, and a sizable economic underclass emerged. In the East End, 55% of newborns did not make it to their 5th birthday. Many women turned to prostitution as a means of survival because of the pervasive poverty, which in turn encouraged a culture of robbery, violence, and alcoholism. In October 1888, the London Metropolitan Police Service estimated that Whitechapel was home to 62 brothels and 1,200 working prostitutes. That same month, Whitechapel was home to approximately 8,500 people sleeping in 233 common lodging houses, where a single bed cost 4d per night and sleeping on a lean-to. Hangover. Rope stretched across the dormitory cost 2d per person. Whitechapel's economic woes were followed by a gradual increase in racial tensions. Several incidents, including Bloody Sunday, occurred between 1886 and 1889 as a result of protests that were met with police action. 1887. What did he do? 3 months of 1888 were spent in the East End of London with panic and fear running rampant. During these 3 months, the man who would later be known as Jack the Ripper brutally murdered and disfigured at least 5 women. Some sources put the number of victims at 11. In the 19th century, Whitechapel in the East End was like a festering sore on Victorian London's face. People were crammed into filthy shacks and had to resort to petty crime and prostitution to make ends meet. The only thing that helped everyone forget about dismal existence was the cheap bottle of gin I bought. Terrorism began on Friday, August 31st, when the body of Mary Ann Nichols, age 42, was discovered in Bucks Row, now called Durward Street. Her face was swollen and bruised, and she had 2 deep cuts across her throat. Her abdomen had been sliced and cut open multiple times. Eventually, it became clear that she was the first victim of the Ripper. The second victim was discovered on September 8. Annie Chapman was 47 years old and a professional prostitute. Her remains and a few personal items were discovered in a tunnel behind 29 Hanbury Street. She had her stomach ripped open and her organs nearly destroyed. Parts of her stomach skin were resting on her left shoulder, and a clump of intestines occupy her right. Both the vagina and the bladder had been surgically removed. On September 28th, the Central News Agency got a letter from an individual signing themselves Jack the Ripper and threatening to continue the murder spree. The name was so effective at capturing the public's attention that it has been in use continuously since it was originally published in the press. It was rumored that the Ripper kept his knives in a black bag. Therefore, riots broke out when panicked mobs attacked anyone with a black bag in Whitechapel. The cops followed a trail of blood to a doorway where they found a chalked message. It said, "The Jews are not the folks to be blamed for nothing." Sir Charles Warren, the commissioner of the Metropolitan Police Department, gave the order to have it erased for no apparent reason. Thus, a potentially key piece of evidence was lost. Londoners were shaken by the double murder's shocking news. The public now began to hear rumors that the Ripper could have been anyone from a crazed doctor to a Polish madman, to a Russian tsarist, to an insane midwife. The Central News Agency received another letter from the Ripper, this time apologizing for failing to deliver the ears to the police as promised. A large chunk of Catherine Eddowes' left ear was missing. Another murder by the Ripper occurred on November 9. Mary Jeanette Kelly, at 25 years old, was the youngest of the victims. She was also the most beautiful. Miller's Court, which was located just off Dorset Street, was where she was discovered, now Duval Street. On the bed was Mary, or what remained of Mary. The situation within was horrifying. The rent collector who came across her afterward commented, "I shall be plagued by this for the rest of my life." Mary was found on a table with a slit throat, her nose snipped off, and her breasts removed. Her stomach contents were displayed on a frame. Her heart was missing, and the body had been peeled and gutted. Sir Charles Warren, Chief of Police, resigned after the murder sparked widespread concern and public protest. After Mary, the Rippers was finally stopped. His tyrannical rule abruptly collapsed. For a century, many suspects have been bandied about for who killed these women. Unfortunately, everyone who knew Jack the Ripper's identity has passed away. Since the killings occurred over 130 years ago, the majority of the evidence has been tainted to the point that it no longer provides useful information. On top of that, the deaths of everyone who might have been a suspect make it impossible to ever know who the true Ripper was. This means that it's quite unlikely that we'll ever know who Jack the Ripper really was, why he ruthlessly murdered these women. This will always remain a mystery. Tell us what you think in the comment box that can be found below. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. We truly hope that you had a good time watching the video. Additionally, we rely on the support of our audience. Therefore, viewers, please subscribe to our channel so that you can witness more incredible evaluations.